Welcome to my 20th pledge sermon. I was ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister 20 years ago in October 1995. And I was informed then that UUs love to hear a sermon about sex, but they get very uncomfortable when the topic of money is raised. So each year in every church, a pledge committee is formed, and the goal is to ask for money euphemistically. They avoid slogans like, "Show me the money," "It's UU tax time," and "Pay up." Some recent themes I have found on UU websites are embracing our light, our love, our promise. From Athens, Georgia. The first UU in Denver, giving in gratitude, growing in spirit. In Charlottesville, Virginia, giving 110%. That's Uber tithing. In University Church in Seattle, little ethereal ripples of hope. But my favorite is from Belmont, Massachusetts. Moving forward with verve. I am so happy that our pledge committee has kept it simple for me this year and just focused on generosity. The modern word generosity derives from the Latin word generosus, which means of noble birth, which itself was passed down to the English through the old French word. The Latin stem gener is the stem of genus, meaning kin or clan, or race or stock, with the root meaning Indo-European meaning of gen, to beget. So given the root meaning of generosity, I found that Unitarians should have enjoyed money sermons all this time, because sex and money are the same topic. Two people share their genes to bring forth something new. It's about the exchange of energy and information. It's about sharing something within you. We are all givers and receivers of energy. Something that produces energy is a generator. We come to this church for regeneration. This church has regenerated for 66 years. Like the regeneration of Doctor Who, this church has had many faces and many personalities. We have welcomed various religions, including Jews and Gentiles. Now, Gentile is an interesting word with the same root as generosity. Now, in the Old Testament, it comes from the word root goyi, which means other nation. The goyim refer to other nations, plural. In the New Testament, Gentile is a translation of ethnos, from which we get ethnic. So how did that word get translated as Gentile? I think the source is the gentility that was translating the Bible for King James. They wanted to include themselves. In England in 1611, only the gentility were able to read. They considered themselves neither Jewish nor ethnic. Thus, they became Gentiles. Their creativity was genius. Genius also shares the root word with generosity. It is genius to give to a community to which you belong. We can do more when we help one another. Resources go farther when we share. We need one another. Interest groups have a meeting place. One can rent space here for private parties at a reduced rate. Potlucks are an inexpensive way to try new food. The creative sharing that is in this congregation is genius. From the ideas shared at the forum to the occasional intellectual film, book, or sermon, and by the musical and artistic collaborations, this congregation offers many opportunities to expand your genius. We are open to the general public. We are democratic, encouraging general participation. Some of you may become a leader in a group of this church, but you probably won't be called a general. Generally, we call leaders by less hierarchical names such as chairpersons, conveners, facilitators, or coordinators. And when we want to get generic, we just use the word volunteer. But however you participate, we want you to participate. Those who are generous with their time tend to be more generous with their money in most churches. Those who buy into the programs of the church buy in figuratively and literally. Now, each of us have differing amounts of time and money, but I encourage all to give both. If you have more time than money, give proportionally to both. If you have more money than time, large checks are gratefully received. Some of you are students who have neither time nor money. Give what you can whenever you can. We're glad that you're here. Filling out a pledge card is good even if you do not have much money. It tells us that you want to belong, that you want to participate. It keeps us from calling the same people over and over again. Pledging is a way for us to know who is part of the family. Psychologist Erik Erikson coined a term called generativity. Generativity also comes from that same root gen. His seventh stage of development is generativity versus stagnation. This stage takes place during middle adulthood between the ages of approximately 40 and 65. During this time, adults strive to create or nurture things that will outlast them, often by having children or contributing positive changes that benefit other people. That sounds like community building to me. We are here because of the generativity of previous generations. Earlier today, we saw someone who looked roughly my age who grew up in this church. What a blessing that is to have people who grew up and have taken the love of this community to places around the country. Think of funding a religious exploration program for our current children and our adults. Think of sharing the beauty of music in this space. Think of creating a space where people can explore the meaning of life. Integrity versus despair is the eighth and final stage of Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. The major question at this stage of life is, did I live a meaningful life? The basic virtue is wisdom. And a person reflects back on their lives. Now, Erikson sees this as a task for the end of our lives, but I think we need to pay attention to it at all stages of our life. The more we pay attention to meaning, the more likely we will have the feeling that we lived a life of integrity and feel less despair. Integrity is about being genuine, true to your genesis, true to who you really are. Again, sharing that same root with generosity. This is a place of self-reflection and a place to lift you out of despair. You are not alone in your joys or concerns. We are a gentle community. We affirm that you have gifts even if others do not. We welcome you and your gifts. Gentle also shares the same root with generosity. Gentleness is giving one another the benefit of the doubt. It is the hope of forgiveness when mistakes have been made. Sometimes we need to be held gently, like a precious baby. Other times we need to gently hold others in our thoughts and our prayers and our arms. Generosity. Generosity takes many forms. It creates and sustains life. We need each other when we have a gentle place, when it's time to die. Participate in the generosity that surrounds you, the generosity that brought about your birth, the generosity that will live long after you. Feel the blessing of giving and receiving, an eternal sharing. Let us think on what this church means to us.